God, the glory of believers and life of the just, by the death and resurrection of your Son, we are redeemed. Have mercy on your servant Julian, and make him worthy to share the joys of paradise, for he believed in the resurrection of the dead. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Amen. I'm going to ask funeral director to do the honors.
Before we start our funeral celebration, before we start the celebration of life of our brother Julian Baranowski, I would like to invite Joe to do the eulogy.
From Siberia to Shangri-La, this is the story of an extraordinary man and an incredible journey that few people today could likely even imagine. But you would never know it upon first meeting Julian. No, his unassuming demeanor, his outward humility, belied the greatness of his life story. Instead, what you would immediately know upon meeting Julian was the incredible strength of his rough-hewn hands as he vigorously shook your hand. But the strength of his grip was not to be outdone by his infectious smile and his overwhelming friendly demeanor. God only knows how many souls Julian touched with his friendliness and his hospitality. But you would never guess that behind that welcoming handshake, that those hands once swung from vines in India to gather food for survival. You would never guess that those hands once foraged for food in the hell of Siberia in a labor camp when he was only a child. You would never guess that those hands were once covered with bee stingers from the time he tried to forage for honey. Yes, there was a story in those hands, and behind that smile that is truly incredible, but was not very often told. As family, we were privileged to hear some of the stories, but even as he told them to us, they were limited in duration, without any pretense or self-glorification. But most of all, there was no poor me, look what I suffered. In fact, he usually told them with a wry smile, even when he was sharing the more difficult parts of his journey. So please bear with me now as I share just some of the highlights, and I truly mean highlights, of an incredible journey that Julian and his family took to get here. Julian was born in Poland, but he barely got the chance to live in his homeland, for at the young age of 10, he and his family were forcibly taken from their home and sent to labor camps in Siberia. In the dead of winter, with literally only what they could carry in their hands, they were jammed into rail cars like cattle and sent to Siberia. Julian was taken with his parents, his two brothers, Frank and Zygmunt, and his sister, Kazimiera, from Poland to Siberia on February 10, 1940. This would be the beginning of a 5.5-year perilous journey that would take their family from Russia to Uzbekistan, to Iran, to Pakistan, and finally to India, before they would eventually get passage to America. For much of the years of his journey, they survived on daily rations that would not equate to even one meal by U.S. standards. Many times, his parents would sacrifice their minimal rations to give their children more food. Whether it was scavenging for wild mushrooms in the forests of Siberia, or begging for food on the streets of Uzbekistan, or sneaking off in the middle of the night with his sister, Cassie, to try and milk goats, or climbing trees to get honey, Julian would learn the meaning of survival like few children in history. This experience would indelibly become part of who he was and would help him to shape the man that we all came to know and love. Many people did not survive that era, and many people that did survive never recovered emotionally or spiritually. But not Julian, no. These life and death experiences would lead him to have an absolute passion for life, a respect for everything he earned, and a work ethic that could not be rivaled, save by his own father, and a unique ingenuity that never saw a problem he could not improve or fix. This combination of passions and characteristics served Julian well when he came to America. While his passage to America was and his initial schooling was supported by the Knights of Columbus and benefactors of the Orchard Lake St. Mary Preparatory School, Julian's work ethic would not allow him to rest. He quickly found ways to apply his work ethic to earn money. He quickly learned barber skills and would moonlight cutting men's hair. But one of my favorite stories was his understanding of what I call the economics of fishermen. He observed that crickets were a great bait for fishermen, and so he decided to make a business out of it. Every night he caught crickets, and the next day he would sell them for a penny apiece, 1 penny. And this would be part of the funds that he would use to buy his first car in high school. When the rest of his classmates were only thinking about how do I get through school, Julian already had a car, even though he wasn't supposed to. He actually had to hide it off-site in the farmer's barn because they weren't allowed to have cars. So this ingenuity, though, and this entrepreneurial spirit would come out in his life in many ways. He even paid for his college by alternating working at Burroughs Corporation and going to school alternating semesters. Even after he earned his mechanical engineering degree and began his career at GM, he developed a side business pretty quickly, working on cars in the evening. And his notoriety and fame for working on cars actually went back to his days at Sports Lake St. Mary's, where he was actually asked to work on the car that would actually carry Pope John Paul while he was on his trip in Michigan. His continual entrepreneurial spirit never really ended, even to the point of his retirement, when he got great joy from haggling with people at his perpetual garage sale up north. One of the most important facts, though, about Julian's financial capability was he rarely ever used it for himself. He worked hard to provide mostly for his family, but he had also used his abilities to serve in the community, too. He sat on the board of a local credit union for many years, including leadership positions. But again, never bragged about it, wouldn't know it, but he served. While Julian was in college, he met the love of his life, Sophia. And they built a house and a home in Warren in which they raised 3 children, Mike, John, and Julie. And they live there to this day. Julian and Sophia were blessed by God to share 60 years of marriage this year. In fact, today, this weekend, would have been 10 years to the date we celebrated their 50th. And ironically, at the same place, we're going to have his wake today. So there's just a great theme of celebration in this process. His marriage to Sophia is another great and lasting example of his commitment to family and to love. But Julian was not all work. He truly loved a good party, good food, and he made the best Manhattans in town. When I asked Julian for his daughter's hand in marriage, he never said yes. He made 2 Manhattans, we did an arm-in-arm salute, and he went off to tell the neighborhood his daughter was getting married. And I tell people that thus began my love affair with my wife and Manhattans. Not only did Julian love to have a good party, but he was and loved to dance. This man could waltz and tango like nobody I knew. He would literally outlast every man in the room, even including the younger generation. It was quite the thing to see him whirling about the dance floor. But no story would be complete without discussing his home away from home, his cottage in Port Austin, Michigan, which he called his Shangri-La. It was truly his happy place. For him, it was a place where life and time always seemed to move slower, and the hardships of his journey to Shangri-La were but a distant memory. But in typical Julian fashion, the cottage was not something for him alone. It was something to be shared with family, friends, neighbors, and occasionally even strangers. His hospitality was truly an example for everyone. He touched many, many lives over the course of 50 years worn in his cottage. Shangri-La was a treasure, not just for Julian, but all who shared in it. Ronald Reagan once said that many people live their whole life wondering if they've made a difference, but the Marines don't have that problem. Well, I think this saying applies to Julian too. He didn't have that problem. He is a man whose life was the embodiment of the embodiment of the word legacy. He truly built a legacy that we are all truly blessed to have been touched by, and which we would all do well to imitate. On behalf of the family of Julian, we thank you for joining us to celebrate his life. I have no doubt he's smiling down on us as we speak. Julian, we will miss you dearly, but you will never be forgotten. Godspeed.